Thanks for listening to Rental Karma On Air, where good renters deserve good credit. Check us out at rentalkarma.com, and that's spelled Kharma.
Hello, everybody. Cullen and Wendy here again with Wendy Massiel. Today, we are going to talk about some credit red flags and things that you can do to avoid going backwards once you get to that 720 credit ready score. One we're going to talk about right now is store credit cards. When you have a good credit score, it's very enticing when you go into a brick and mortar place like a Target or a Walmart or a Best Buy or any of these consumer stores that offer up a store credit card to you when you get to the checkout counter. Isn't that a good idea? Well, they usually come on the enticing offer, don't they, Wendy? Usually like 0% or we'll give you $100, or there's always some hook in there that wants to sort of entice you to take that offer. Is that a good thing? Well, it's a good thing to get a deal, but there's some downsides that they don't tell you about at the register that the checkout person isn't trained to inform you on credit-wise, okay? And we shouldn't expect them to do that either. So today we're going to help you understand what those red flags are so that you can understand this and so forth. Wendy, have you ever had a store credit card personally?
Personally, no, but every time I go shopping, they ask me if I want to save 25% off of today's purchase if I'll open one.
Yeah, exactly. I remember a number of years ago, maybe 4 years ago or so, I moved and I needed a new washer and dryer. So I went over to the lumber store, that they have around. There's orange ones and blue ones. And I went in there and I said, I'm going to get this washer and dryer. And it was about $1,400. And I have a credit card I could have used, or a debit card and whatever, just pay for it. But then the person there says, hey, would you like to have it for 0% interest? And I thought to myself, well, I don't need to pull my credit anytime soon for anything else. So why not? Okay, I'll go ahead and do it. A couple of times, about 2 minutes later, great, you're approved, and schedule your delivery, etc. I get home, washer, dryer's fine. Whatever. 6 weeks later, I get my first statement in the mail, right? For paying it back. And I'm like, okay, well, I want to say maybe $120 was the minimum payment on it. It was supposed to be a 0% interest for like 12 months, I think. Okay. And so I put it on auto pay, and I'm like, well, don't just pay the minimum, even though it's 0 interest, pay, $200 a month. And that way the whole thing will be done within this 12-month window or whatever. I don't know. I didn't pay a lick of attention to the thing at all. Didn't think much about it from any other perspective. And I get to the last statement. I got my statement in the mail. I got the paper statement that said, you owe $117 for the last month. And I went on to go check it and pay it, or something along those lines. And because I didn't pay the full amount of the payments, the $1,400 within this 12-month window, they had retroactively added interest at 30% onto the entire transaction on this last statement. So instead of it now being $70 or whatever, it was like $500. And I'm like, what in the world is this all about? And I call up the company, and it's not the hardware company you're talking to. It's a bank company behind the scenes that does these store credit cards for all these companies. And they were just dead firm and, nope, sorry, that's what the terms were, et cetera. And you're stuck with this. I'd have been better off just paying it on my own credit card and paying it monthly, obviously, or paying cash if I could have, or whatever. But it was this thing that came back to bite me. And this is one of those things that it was pretty painful. And I didn't give up at just the first phone call, Wendy. I called and said, hey, can I talk to somebody else? They escalated it. And they all just stood on their head and said, nope, can't do anything about it. And it just blew my mind. And I have seen over the years of doing one-on-ones with members where this has happened to others too. So this is not just some unique thing that just happened to me. And this is the thing that happens to a lot of people when you go in and you take up one of these store credit cards. So that's one major pitfall, I believe, because it was very lacking in transparency, and it was a big surprise, a financial surprise, a year later. For some people, that could just be a big impact, So be aware of that. What are the other downsides of these store credit cards? I didn't think about this one right away. When you reminded me earlier, as soon as you get that card, they generally only give you a credit limit that is basically $100 or within $100 of whatever the purchase amount of that item was. So I now have a brand new credit card showing up on a credit report, which is in itself another penalty, because every time you open up a new account, credit age comes down, and you get this little penalty of 15, 20 points for opening up a new account because it doesn't know how you're going to pay it back. A lot of people make the mistake of opening multiple store credit cards in a short period of time. That's basically like getting multiple parking tickets, hitting your credit score. And now you didn't get the 20-point decrease, you got 30, 40, 50, 60-point decrease, right? So yet another downside of going in and getting one or more of these store credit cards. So I don't believe in them in any real way. They're not really a great function for building credit. Make sure you're paying attention, even though it's nice to think, hey, I got this 720 credit score, I'll take this offer and get this deal. Remember those other consequences that kick in down the line. Okay. Hope this helps you out, and make sure you don't make that mistake moving forward so you can stay 720 credit rate. Hey everybody, Cullen and here again. Today, we're going to talk about another kind of what I would consider maybe a store credit card. This one actually serves for a situation sort of like an emergency needs. When you go to the dentist and you have a couple of crowns and root canals you got to get done, and they hand you a bill, it's $2,500. A lot of times people might be like, well, I'm going to go down to the personal loan store to get money to pay for this. And they end up at a very high interest rate and predatory situation. There are products like Care Credit, and I think there's some others that help when you go to the dentist or another place, and they will a lot of times have an offer that's like 0% for a certain amount of time to help you cover those costs. That's really good in a situation with something like that where it is really an emergency thing. There's one also that serves the auto industry, expected auto repairs. Not many of us in this country save up a little emergency fund for unexpected auto repair costs. It just doesn't happen. And, a battery, a couple $100, we can all figure that one out. New tires in the car, $1,800. That one's a bit more. Repair to the car. Transmission went out. $3,000. Where am I going to come up with this? And if you don't get this thing fixed, and you don't have a way to get to work in a country that doesn't have mass transit like trains and everything in Europe, you're left without a way to get to work, which even compounds your situation multiple times, right? Having a 720 credit score helps you in these emergency situations so that when that emergency does happen, you could qualify for a Care Credit card at 0%, or one of these that you get at the car repair places so that you can get those things covered and get back on the road and get back to work quickly. It's really not a bad idea. Now, make sure after the fact that you're not just letting that balance sit there. You're chopping that away as best you can quickly so that it doesn't compound the problem a year down the road. There are a couple other industries that actually offer these kind of payments. I think the veterinaries businesses have access to it for pet care. We all love our pets. Just let them suffer in any way. We got to make sure we take care of them. And vet bills, if you've been, can be pretty expensive. And this is another way that you could do that. But you got to make sure you're 720 credit ready, because if you walk in there with a 550 credit score, you're not going to get approved, and you're going to be stuck in a really bad situation. Hey everybody, Cullen and here again, talking about red flags of credit and things you can do to get yourself in a better spot to make sure you can stay 720 credit ready. Today, I want to talk about credit cards and how you can get your balance to zero interest fast. So you're not paying the 30%, which is also compound interest, that makes it pretty much impossible to pay off any significant balance in a short period of time. When this happens, a lot of times people already have one or multiple maxed out credit cards. And if you're not familiar with the maxed out credit card penalty, visit the Learning Center. We got a great article on that. But in short, one maxed out credit card with a $500 balance and a $500 limit can set your credit score back 85 points. Well, as soon as that happens, your ability to get anything else to rectify your situation is pretty tough, because maybe you had a 680 credit score and your score dropped 85 points, and all of a sudden you're at the 500s. That means you're not going to get much of anything positive in a good direction. So what can you do? Number one, quickly pay down the card as best you can to get it out of the maxed out status. Get it down to 80%, okay? This is going to take part of that penalty away so that you can get back to, say, the mid 600s, all right? What's the next step? Let's say you have a total of $5,000 in credit card balances, okay? That seems like a lot, especially when you look at the calculator of how long it's going to take to pay it off, just paying the minimums. It takes years, even with $5,000, okay? What can you do? 650 credit score, log into, say, the Credit Kharma app, or go to your local community credit union and look at personal loan offers that are there available to you. What I like about Credit Kharma is they already know your score, and they know what your balances are. They have a system that basically mathematically matches you to good offers, and it tells you if you have an excellent chance of getting approved or a good chance or a poor chance. We're going to look for ones with an excellent or outstanding chance for approval. And what do you need to do? You need to get a personal loan for the amount of the total amount of your credit card balances. Let's say it's at $5,000, right? Now, the interest rate is definitely going to be lower than what it is for the credit card. It is not compound interest. It's a fixed term, okay? So even if it is a 20% interest rate, the amount of interest you're going to pay over time shrinks by 5 times, okay? 5x, literally. On $5,000, it might only be $1,500 over the course of a couple of years, whereas the credit cards would be triple what the balance is. How do you go about then getting it to zero, right? So you take this, you get this personal loan, $5,000, and these sites online, they'll allow you to do a balance transfer or to use that money to pay off other accounts. You then go in and you enter your account numbers for your other credit cards, and you pay off those cards down to zero, each one by one. Okay. Now, after a month, even if this personal loan's at 20%, don't worry. Okay. Just stay with me. After a month, your credit score refreshes with the new updates on your credit cards, and all of a sudden you have a zero balance on your credit cards, which means no maxed out credit cards or anything. You have zero usage. Your score is going to jump from that 650, 700, easy, maybe 720. All right. Great. You feel better. You got the better score, but you still have a personal loan out there at that 20%. How can you get that so you're not going to even pay that 1,500 in interest, but down to zero? You go log back into the Credit Karma app. You'll start to see you're going to get a lot more offers in your life. Be careful because you got to make sure you're looking at the right things. But if you go into the app, you click on cards, there's one that says balance transfer, and it'll show you a list of cards that you have a decent chance of getting approved for. Okay. It'll tell you the terms, 12 months, 0% interest, 18 months, 0% interest. And they're out there now. I see them out there. Go ahead and now apply for one of those cards for that amount of that personal loan. If you get the $5,000, you then use that transfer to pay off that personal loan. Okay. Now the personal loan is gone, it paid and closed, but you have that $5,000 sitting on this zero interest credit card. Now, yes, I know, Cullen, you said it would get a new card. You know, it could show up as a maxed out card, right? Maybe they approve you for 6,000. If they approve you for 6,000, it only takes 5 or only take 4 or whatever. So that it doesn't give you a maxed out credit card for this new one for the balance transfer. That way your score doesn't dip too much after that. All right. But now you can easily have a plan. If before you were paying $100 a month on the credit card as a minimum payment, now that's going to be chipping away at principal the entire time. And if you can make more of a payment on that, $300 a month, you know, you'll pretty much have that thing paid off completely to zero over the course of the year. And you didn't pay any interest. And now you just alleviated this long-term burden on your back of having a balance of 30% on a $5,000 credit card that was just going to take forever and ever to get paid off. So hope that tip works for you. I've personally used it a couple of times in my life in the last 10 years. Got many friends that have done it. And I advise members of Rental Karma to do that as well when they are in that situation. Look at the article and it spells out all those steps, does the math for you. It's got calculators showing you exactly what that difference will be and how easy it is to accomplish this. In literally 6 weeks, you could make that entire thing happen. Hello, everybody. Cullen Canizares here again. Want to talk to you today about refinancing car loans. Why is this important? Well, when you go car shopping and you have a credit score that's under 640, the chances that you're going to get an affordable low interest rate in your car loan is pretty much down to nothing. Firstly, when you're going into the car dealer, they love to say to you, hey, we'll go get you a deal. We're going to go shop you around to different lenders to get you the best rate so that you can get a payment that works for you. Okay. What they don't tell you when they're doing this is who they're shopping you around to. And you don't get to pick your lender. All right. And when you have made this mistake of actually getting a loan at the car dealer, which you should never do, you should go watch your own Karma's episode of the podcast #1, How to Buy a Car with No Down Payment. Never give the car dealer your social security number and you never let them pull your credit. You've made this mistake, and many, many people do because the system is built to not be transparent. So you have a good understanding. You end up with a bad auto loan at an interest rate 15, 20, 25, 30%. Okay. You'll end up seeing the company's names like Santander, Westlake, Credit Acceptance. But at the end of the day, It's all about what is that interest rate on that loan. Well, when you go out and you get a $30,000 car loan and it's 72 months, they've given you, say, a 24% interest rate. Okay. Your payment ends up being $700+ a month. And you're like, well, it seems expensive, but I can do it and so forth. And they're happy to do the deal and get it closed and send you on your way. But when you have this high interest car loan, the chances of repossession is about 1 out of 3. 1 out of 3 of these high interest car loans end up getting repoed within 6 months. Okay. What do you do to make sure this isn't going to be the case for you moving forward when you are in this situation? Well, you got to go get it refinanced, because if you even succeed in not getting the car repoed and you pay the car off in full, the $30,000 car is going to cost you $60,000 by the time you pay it off. $30,000 of it in interest. That's insane. That same car loan at 30%, you get it refinanced at a credit union for, say, 8%, you're only going to end up paying about $7,000 in interest, or $37,000 for that car. That sounds like a much better deal. But you got to make sure that you get yourself into a good credit score position in order to be able to go to the credit union and get refinanced at lower rate, right? You got to have at least a minimum of 650, which is sort of a B minus. But if you can't get up to that 720 to get in there, do that. Get yourself a round car loan one-on-one for all members. If you're in that situation, you get a game plan so you can figure out how you can get that score up to 720 as quickly as possible so that you can get away from that crazy high interest car loan. The other beauty of that is that when you go in to do this, the car payment's probably going to drop $250, sometimes $300 a month. Think of what you could do with that. Stick that $300 in a savings account. All of a sudden, you got a $4,000 emergency savings at the end of the year. That's pretty good. So I hope this helps. Reach out if you need one-on-one. We'll be more than happy to help you. Hey everybody, Cullen and here again. Today we're going to do something super fun. We're going to go through a mock one-on-one mentoring session. As a Rental Kharma member, you can schedule your own one-on-one. You have a personal detail. We go through, figure out everything that needs to happen to get you 720 credit ready and help you reach your goals fast. Okay? But today I'm going to go through what that process looks like. Okay? Super simple. You can go through it on your Credit Kharma app on your phone while we go through this. And you can see exactly what it is that I look for to point you in the right direction. Okay, so first off, when you log into the Credit Kharma app, the very first screen, you're going to see 2 scores, TransUnion and Equifax. I ask, what are your 2 scores today? Let's pretend they're at 620 and 625, okay? That's a C minus and a C is where it is currently. Little ways to an A plus, but hopefully we're going to figure out a way to get there. So the first thing I have you do is click on the 620 credit score. Scroll down the page. You're going to go to a section that's called credit factors. There's 6 of them here. Okay. The very first one says payment history, and it has a number next to it. Hopefully yours is 100%. Because even if it's at 99 or 98, in school, we used to think, well, I'll show mom that grade any day. She'd be happy for me. But in credit, that means you have at least one missed payment in the last few years. And that could be, not necessarily, your credit score to go down. Okay, we're going to come back and talk about that in a minute. The next thing I want you to look at in the day together is credit card usages directly underneath that. There'll be a number. If you don't have a credit card, it'll say 0 or NA for not applicable. That's incredibly important because the credit card is an important part of the mix, and we'll come back to that. And you also hear, keep your credit card usage under 30%. That's absolutely the worst advice I've ever heard in the world of credit. I'm certain that it was written by a banker, because the banker is the one that's going to be giving you that credit card at 30% compound interest. If you don't have a balance, how are they going to make money? Really? The next one down says derogatory marks. This one scares a lot of people. Okay? What a derogatory mark actually is a collection. And if you have 0, that's awesome. Some people 1 or 2, a few people have a few more. But what they are is a collection account. And when you click on these, you're not going to recognize the name of the company. And it's not going to make a whole lot of sense to you. Okay, we're going to come back to that one in a second as well. The next data point I'm looking at is credit age. Age in credit is incredibly important. The older, the better. And what I'm going to do is we click on that account where it says credit age. And what I'm looking for is that I have you list off each account one by one, the name of the account and how old it is. at the top's going to be your oldest account. Say Capital One, 6 years. Okay. Maybe my credit union car loan, 3 years. Okay. Things like that. And what I'm looking for here is one, how many total accounts are there? 4 to 5 is a good number. More than that becomes problematic in a couple of ways. One, some people believe that you got to have a lot of accounts open to show that you have a lot of established credit. Not real, not real, not real. Okay. The reality is the more open accounts you have a diluted credit report with way too many things on it. So just having one thing change mathematically then doesn't change things overall nearly as much as when you only have 3 or 4 or 5 accounts. Like say you had 5 years of rent, right? That can have a big impact when you have a few accounts. When you have a lot of accounts, it mathematically just doesn't make as much of a difference. The other thing I'm looking for is how many open accounts on a report are recently opened. How many are new? 1, 2, 3, 4 months old. How many in the last year? Hopefully, maybe a max of 1. But a lot of people see these credit builder apps online and they'll go and open up 2, 3, 4 of these, maybe a store credit card or something. And all of a sudden, you'll have 3 or 4 open accounts on there that are 2 months old. This actually will do a couple of things negative for you. One, it brings down your average credit age significantly because you have multiple brand new accounts. Think of them as babies and see others are teenagers. Now your average age is just shrunk, right? And 2, you're suffering from this new account penalty. Generally, a new account was a 15-point drop ish on your credit report. But if you got 3 of them that you opened in the last couple of months, that could be 50 points, right? That's not a good thing. Okay, so we go back one screen, we look down, there's one there that says total accounts. This one really doesn't have anything to do with the analysis of things. It's just the number that they show you. And it is basically a total of all open and closed accounts you have in your credit report. Remember, closed accounts in your credit report do not impact your credit score unless there was a negative that happened on one of those accounts in the last 2 years, maybe a late payment. Okay. The last one of the credit factors is hard inquiries. Less than 5 is a good number. That means you had less than 5 inquiries on your report in the last 2 years. If you have more than that, chances are that's really impacting your credit score because each inquiry can be about a 4-point penalty on your credit score that lasts for 2 years. All right. So if you went car shopping the wrong way, not at the credit union, but got your car loan at the car dealer and they went and brokered you around to 20 different companies, I've seen many people with over 20 inquiries on their credit report. I've seen one that had 119. I thought that they must have gone car shopping every day for 2 weeks straight, kept getting told no, and they kept trying again. Well, that's a big thing. And it's also something you can actually take care of yourself. In the Rental Kharma Learning Center, rentalkharma.com/learn, there is an article in there about how to remove hard inquiries. It's something you can do on your own. It doesn't cost you anything. It's just a little bit of time. But there's a very important step in the process of taking those out of the picture if that is in fact harming you. Okay. Now, we're going to go back to the top of your credit factors. We're going to look at that payment history number again. Okay. Let's say that you have a 97% payment history. If it's 100% and you click on it, it's going to show no other accounts. If you have 99, 98, 97, 90, 80, whatever it is, you're going to see a list of accounts in which have 30-day late payments or worse possibly within that account's life cycle. All right. And the important thing here is to remember when these things happen. The first thing you do is you click on the very first account. After click on the payment history, it'll say the name. Let's just say it's your credit union car loan. And you see there, it'll say, current status. Hopefully it's current. You don't ever want to have anything that doesn't stay current. So if you have a late, you got to work a plan out there quickly. Okay. But you didn't see this. And a lot of times you'll see right away a calendar that has green check marks and red X's. If you don't see the calendar right away, sometimes there'll be a link underneath that that's in green that says report info. And you click on it. That will then show you that calendar. Why is this calendar important? Because it tells you when that event happened on that late payment. Okay. A lot of us can't remember if we had a late payment a year ago when it actually did happen. We tend to forget about those things because it's not a good memory. You look at this calendar, you'll see green check marks, and what we're looking for is the most recent red X, not the first one, but the most recent. And we have to look at it and say, okay, it was in 2023, March of that year. Well, I can do quick math and tell me that's 2.5 years old. That's past the 2-year penalty. Okay. And the 30-day late penalty, remember this, is an 85-point penalty. That penalty sticks with you for 2 years. After 1 year, it's cut in half. All right. But if it's after 2 years, it's not affecting your score at all. Yes, you still have to see it on your credit report, but it only hurts your eyes. Okay. It's not going to keep you from getting a mortgage or a car loan, anything else. And it's definitely not going to affect your credit score. So let's say there's 2 other accounts listed here. You go back one screen, click on the next account. Same exercise. Go find the calendar. When was the red X? Let's say the next one was 6 months ago. Let's say it was in February of 2025. 6 months ago, that's still impacting. All right. How much? Well, it was initially at 85 points. It's halfway to the 1 year mark, which drops it in half. So you're probably still getting penalized 60-ish points on this thing. How do you resolve that issue? The number one way is to, one, call the lender, whoever it is, maybe it's the credit union in the car loan, and find out what happened. Call and say, hey, I just noticed there was a late payment on a credit report. I hadn't seen what was going on here, because maybe there was a mistake. Maybe an auto pay didn't go the right way that it was supposed to. Something could have possibly happened that was just a simple mistake. We as consumers make mistakes, but those lenders also make mistakes. So it's worth the phone call to see if you can at least get that resolved or get them to change the status of it. I do say that I have not seen a whole lot of success when it comes to disputing those. I think it's probably a 10% success rate at best. There's no harm in disputing it because it's not going to impact your score like it can in other ways, but it's very important that you at least take that step forward. Hopefully you're at 100% and this is not an issue at all. Okay. Now let's go back one screen. We're going to go down to the underneath payment history that said that credit card usage number. Okay. Let's just say the usage number was 25%. All right. 25%. People are like, well, I heard if it's under 30, that's good. I'm not going to be any harm there. Right. You heard me say that's the worst advice I ever heard of. I think that all people should have a focus of getting the number to 0. Okay. Well, let's take a look now. And when you click on this 25%, let's say you actually have 3 open credit cards. Okay. Which is more than enough, by the way, more than enough. At the top of the list is going to be the card that has the highest percentage usage of those 3 cards. Let's say it was a $500 credit card, and up there it says 95%. Okay. That card, even though your overall usage is at 24, because this one card is at 95%, you're actually suffering that maxed out credit card penalty, which can be 85 points, even though it's just a $500 credit card and it's not even over the limit. Okay. First step is to pay that thing down as quickly as you can, get it underneath the, say, $400 balance, $300 balance, or whatever, to make that penalty go away, because that penalty doesn't last 2 years. It only lasts as long as that card is maxed out. All right. So this overall number is a bit misleading because you have to dive in to the devil in the detail to find out, do I have one card that happens to be maxed out? Do I have 2 cards? Maybe another $300 card. I had one the other day. 2 guys, 2 cards, one 300 and one 500. Both of them were maxed out. The score was 595. All you have to do is pay those to 0, and he's a 700 easily, 720. So it's not a matter of if it's the amount. Some people are like, well, I have a $10,000 card. The penalty for a maxed out card is the same if it's a $10,000 card with a $9,500 balance or a $1,000 card with a $950 balance. It's all about the percentage. Okay. So hopefully that helps you out in terms of understanding how to tackle your credit card bill and making sure that you don't have this bouncing in your score every time you use it. Further, I want to dive into one little piece here in terms of how you use a credit card. And this is the advice I give everybody, especially everybody that's new to credit card. All you need is one credit card in order to score the 30% of the credit score test that is your credit card. If you don't have a credit card that said NA, you're actually skipping 30% of the credit score. Could you imagine taking a math test in high school with 100 questions? You go and skip 30 of the questions, but then you ace the last 70. You got a 70 for a score, C minus. So why on earth would you be skipping the first 30 questions if you're that good at math? That makes sense, right? So you have one credit card and you put your recurring service on this and put it on autopay, like Netflix or your cell phone bill. Autopay to pay the bill in full every month to a 0 balance. Now you just scored the 30% of the credit score that's needed, which will boost your score when you don't have a credit card. Your score, say you're 650, you'll be at 690 within 6 weeks. And a few more monthly payments along that, you're going to be in the 700s. It's that simple. You don't need to carry a balance to prove that you can be good with credit. Okay. That's the easy way to do it. Let's go back one screen. And I want to go back and talk about the collection part one more time. We're going to click down on the derogatory marks. If you have it, if you have 0, awesome. Okay. Let's just say you have 2. All right. And we're going to go ahead and click on that. Now here's what is important about collections and understanding. One, the penalty is the same, which is basically 22 points, whether you have $1,000 collection, 100 or 5,000. It's not about the dollar amount. Okay. It's just the fact that it's a collection. And when you click on it, you're going to see names of companies on the top you've never recognized in your life. These are the collection agencies. Okay. First off, these companies buy these accounts from the original creditor. Let's say it was a phone company and it was $500. The phone company has already written off on their accounting this as a write-off and a loss. And you might have already suffered a credit penalty from this in the first place, for late payments or something like that. When they've written it off as a loss, the only thing they can do is they can turn around and sell this debt to a third-party collection company. And when they do that, they sell them for about 3 pennies on the dollar. Well, what's 3% of $500? I think it's like $15. $15 is what the collection company paid for to get this debt from the original company. So if they can even turn around and get you to pay $100, they just made 5 times their money. It's a weird, crazy business that doesn't seem like it should even exist. But how does this collection affect you? We talked about the points, 22 points. That penalty lasts for 2 years. After 1 year, it's cut in half, down to 11 points basically, and after 2 years, it's completely gone. So as soon as you go and click on the derogatory marks, what you want to look for is it'll have the name of the company. Directly underneath it, it'll have the date opened. Okay? Let's say the first one on this account was opened in January of 2024, which for right now, so you know, if you're watching this later, about a year and a half ago. This means that this one is still affecting you score-wise, but it's not the full 22 points. It's only about 25% of that, which is maybe 5 points, okay? Remember, it doesn't make a difference about the amount, whether it's 500 or 5,000 or 50, okay? The next one will say the name of the company and date open. Let's say that one has a date open of January of 2020. Well, that's 5 years ago, okay? Way past the 2-year mark. So this account, even if it's $2,000, okay? Let's say it was a surprise medical bill. Doesn't make a difference. That one's not affecting your score at all anymore. Is it still on your report? Yes. Is it going to keep you from getting a mortgage? No. Is it going to keep you from getting a car loan? No, it's not. It's actually old news and it's not there affecting you. The thing that is important here, and a lot of people get tempted because in the credit monitoring apps, there's always a little button that says dispute. Dispute. Very important to know you don't dispute one of these accounts that's over 2 years old. Why? Because it's like poking a sleeping bear. You're going to wake them up. And they're going to be like, this collection company says they must be going to buy a house. Let's start calling them again. Let's maybe go and refresh the date on the account and make it look like it's brand new, thus inducing another 22-point penalty to you. Is that legal? No. Do they do it? Yes. Do they all do it? No, but there are ones that do. And you got to be wary of that. Okay? So don't touch that button. What if it's a new collection and it's clearly a mistake? It is not yours. There's something wrong here. Do you dispute and use that button? Yes, perfectly fine. That's what it's there for. But make sure you know when to use that button, because otherwise it can come back to actually cause more harm than good. I hope this has been helpful to you and that you're going to learn how you could actually sort of do a one-on-one yourself, analyzing what things are at. If you want one personally, schedule one as a rental car member. We'll walk through it, see where you're at, talk about your goals. We'll also give you additional resources to the make sure you visit the Rental Car Learning Center, read the red flags, because that's what keeps you 720 credit ready. But we also share with you, if you know you're in the need of, if we see that you have a car financing issue that is a high interest rate car loan, we'll point you in the direction of resolving that. If you're in the process of buying a home, we'll make sure you know where the down payment assistance programs are in your state so that you can utilize that for the down payment buying a house. Texas, for example, it's $12,000. You don't have to worry about saving for the down payment, folks. It's there for you. Why is that important? And why does that happen? Well, some people are like, well, I must not qualify that. This must be for really low income people. No, in Texas, you can make up to $125,000 a year and still qualify because they want good quality folks, working class people living in Texas so they can work for the employers of the state. That's why employers come there. And every state has one of these programs. You just don't see them on billboards or TV ads, so they're not very obvious to you unless you've heard about them. But we'll push you that direction. Hope this has been very helpful for you, and maybe we'll see you soon in a one-on-one. And thanks for being on Rental Car. Thanks. Have a great day.
Thanks again for joining us for another episode of Rental Karma on Air. Be sure to leave us a voice note for any questions, comments, or stories about this or any other topic. send them over to Cullen@rentalkarma.com. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe the Rental Karma channel here on YouTube. Just hit that button below, and we look forward to hearing from you next week.